Most yoga teachers assume that growing online is all about perfecting the visuals, better lighting, smoother edits, more aesthetic backdrops. But the ones who stand out online and actually thrive mastered a completely different skill. One most teachers don't even think to learn. Now, when you focus on this skill, building a worldwide audience and earning from the videos you create both become possible. In this video, I'm going to show you what this hidden skill is that separates yoga teachers who stay stuck from the ones who thrive online. And once you understand it, you'll be able to start seeing why your previous content hasn't landed and exactly what you need to do differently. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you did one of your own videos? Not as a teacher, but as the student. Because most yoga teachers don't realize that the way they sound and the words they choose determine how people feel about their teaching long before the class has even begun. Because when someone finds your video, they're not analyzing your setup or your sequence just yet. They're subconsciously asking one simple question: do I trust this person? Now, that decision happens in seconds, and it's based on your tone, your pacing, your energy, and yes, the things you say. But you can have the perfect setup where everything looks beautiful, but if the minute you open your mouth, you are putting people off, no one's going to say, no matter how great your video looks. Now, that's the piece no one's teaching: communication psychology. And that's exactly what I teach inside the Art of Communication. It's the system that helps yoga teachers master how they sound, how they guide, and how they connect through the screen. I'll share more on that later. Link will be in the description. But first, let me show you how I discovered what actually makes communication work online so that you can start improving your communication straight away. For 2.5 years, I posted every single week thinking that I was doing everything right, but I still struggled to get any views or make any money from my online videos. Eventually, I started studying what the most successful teachers were doing. And the thing that stood out immediately was that it didn't matter what their visuals looked like. It was something else that made them magnetic. It was the way they communicated. They were clear. They anticipated what I needed to hear before I knew I even needed to hear it, and they used simple, easily understood language. But if they did say anything more technical, they explained themselves, and it made me feel like they'd thought about me, the viewer. So I started experimenting with a style of communication. I looked at my short form videos, and I stripped back my scripts so that I could speak in simple, short sentences. And in the beginning, I felt like I was barely saying anything because it was such a different way of communicating. But that's when things started to change, because I started to receive comments from people that said, "Thank you. This was so easy for me to understand. You broke it down so simply." So then I took the same approach with my classes. I'd write out my cues, remove the fluff, the filler, and run what I now call the eyes closed test. So this is where I listen and still follow along. And if I can still follow along, I know it works. Now that's the standard I teach inside the Art of Communication, because if a student can understand you with their eyes closed, they will follow you anywhere online. Now, when I applied those simple principles, my short form videos jumped from 70 views to 70,000 views. And my YouTube classes went from 500 views to about over 100,000 views. Nothing else changed. Same setup, same visuals. The only difference was the way I communicated. And the better I got at communicating, the more confident I felt on camera, the more competent I felt as a teacher. And I finally stopped feeling like an imposter every time I hit record, because I knew exactly what I was going to say and why. Now, here's what I learned. Finding the simplest way to communicate is often the hardest thing, because simplicity means mastery. Now, when I first graduated from YTT, Skandasana was that pose I just couldn't cue. Every time I taught it in a studio, I would look around the room to a bunch of confused faces. So I started creating one of the techniques that I now teach inside the Art of Communication. It's called the walkthrough method. And it's where you walk yourself through a pose verbally to discover the simplest way to guide students from A to B. Because simplicity doesn't come from the first try. It comes from consistent refining, testing, and listening. And you might be wondering, how can you test this if you teach online and can't see your students? Now, that's where reviewing your own work becomes a non-negotiable. You need to go back, rewatch, and critique yourself like your own student, because that's how you develop awareness, and awareness is how you grow as a teacher. So when you start breaking down your communication this way, stripping away the unnecessary, refining the delivery, your cues land. People understand you the first time, they trust you more quickly, and that's what keeps them coming back. Now, this is the skill that separates the teachers who stay stuck from the teachers who thrive. And if you're struggling to grow your audience or make money from the videos you're posting, if you're starting to wonder if teaching online is even possible for you, and you're tired of the cycle of teaching in studios, this is why. Because if your communication isn't landing, nothing else you do online will work the way it should. This is why I created the Art of Communication, to help yoga teachers master how they speak, teach, and connect online. Inside, you'll learn the proven frameworks that help me create communication that builds community so you can grow a loyal audience and a sustainable business. You'll discover how to write hooks and intros that stop the scroll, how to use engagement loops that keep people watching, and how to craft stories that turn your teaching into connection and trust. You'll also learn how to guide students with the simplest language so that you can be understood by a worldwide audience where English may not be the first language. So, if you want to make teaching online work, invest in yourself and your teaching right now. Because there's no point posting consistently if what you're doing consistently isn't working. And sometimes success just comes from doing something differently, from learning a better way. So instead of giving up on teaching online, come and join the Art of Communication. Let me guide you through this process. I am so excited for you to see just what a big impact your content can create when you communicate more effectively. The link is in the description. I hope to see you there.